Milan hadn't seen such a glamorous night in months. The cameras flashed, the champagne glasses sparkled, and every whisper in the air carried one name, Yaman. The Turkish heartthrob, adored across Europe, arrived at an exclusive rooftop party in the heart of Milan alongside his rumored girlfriend. It wasn't just another celebrity appearance, it was a statement. A statement that came only days after Demet Özdemir's unexpected departure from Italy, and the timing couldn't have been more explosive. As Can stepped out of his black luxury car, the crowd went wild. Dressed in a tailored dark suit that perfectly outlined his commanding frame, he looked every bit the international superstar. His girlfriend, elegantly dressed in a silver gown that shimmered under the lights, stayed close by his side. The chemistry between them didn't go unnoticed. Paparazzi captured every glance, every smile, every subtle touch, moments that would dominate social media within hours. Inside the venue, the atmosphere was electric. Italian influencers, actors, and fashion icons filled the hall, but all eyes were fixed on Can. His presence shifted the room's energy. The whispers began almost instantly. "He looks happier than ever," someone said. "But what about Demet?" another asked. Everyone knew the story. Everyone remembered the emotional interviews, the cryptic posts, and the endless speculation. For months, fans had been wondering if Can and Demet would cross paths again. Yet now, seeing him laughing effortlessly beside another woman, it felt like the final page of an unforgettable chapter. Still, there was something unspoken behind that smile, a quiet melancholy that only those who truly followed his journey could detect. Even in the brightest spotlight, a shadow of the past seemed to linger. As the night unfolded, that tension, between the man Can had become and the love he once couldn't forget, would soon take center stage. As the party continued, the rhythm of the night grew louder, but so did the whispers. Yaman and his girlfriend were the undeniable center of attention, yet something about the scene felt heavy with curiosity. People weren't just watching a celebrity couple enjoy themselves, they were watching a man who had once lived through one of the most talked about love stories in Turkey, and beyond. The lights from the rooftop glittered against the Milan skyline, but flashes from photographers burned brighter. Every step Can took was followed by a camera click, every turn of his head caught on film. Yet he moved with calm confidence, occasionally whispering something to his girlfriend that made her laugh softly. Still, the moment the laughter faded, his eyes, deep, dark, and unmistakably expressive, seemed to wander. He wasn't searching for the cameras. He was searching for something else. Some guests claimed they saw him glance toward the entrance more than once. Was he expecting someone? Or perhaps hoping someone wouldn't walk in? After all, it hadn't even been a week since Demet Özdemir had left Italy after wrapping up a mysterious private event in Rome. Rumors suggested the two had been in the same city just days earlier, but deliberately avoided each other. Social media was already on fire. Posts flooded X and Instagram. "Can looks amazing, but that look in his eyes, you can tell he's thinking about her. He's moved on, but his soul hasn't." Meanwhile, inside the venue, a few Italian journalists tried to approach him. They wanted one thing, a reaction. Would he finally speak about Demet's departure? Would he confirm his relationship? Can, ever the professional, simply smiled and said, "It's a beautiful night for Milan, isn't it?" That one line, calm, elegant, and evasive, only added more fuel to the fire. But those who knew him best, or at least believed they did, saw something different. His smile didn't reach his eyes. The moment the cameras turned away, his expression grew distant. His girlfriend, noticing, placed a gentle hand on his arm. He nodded, grateful, but his thoughts seemed miles away. Perhaps somewhere between Milan and Istanbul, between the life he now lived and the love story that refused to fade. By midnight, as the music softened and guests began to leave, Can stood by the balcony, the city lights stretching endlessly before him. The wind brushed through his hair. He looked peaceful, almost poetic, yet heartbreakingly alone for a man surrounded by hundreds. And in that fleeting silence, one couldn't help but wonder, was this night truly about celebration, or about saying goodbye to the last echo of Demet Özdemir? The early hours of the morning arrived, but the party showed no signs of slowing down. The rooftop was still alive with music and chatter, though the Real story was unfolding quietly, in the spaces between the noise. Yaman, ever composed, stood near the grand piano as a jazz band played a slow tune. His girlfriend, radiant and poised, was surrounded by friends, laughing, posing for photos, glowing in the spotlight. And yet, anyone observing closely would notice that Can's eyes weren't fixed on her. They were lost, somewhere distant, somewhere his heart had once belonged. At one point, a photographer, clearly hoping for a viral shot, asked the couple to look into each other's eyes. They did. Her smile was soft, confident, perfectly timed. His was polite, but heavy. For a brief second, the flash caught something raw, a flicker of emotion that didn't belong to the moment. When the picture surfaced hours later, fans would analyze it endlessly. "He looks there, but not really there," one comment read. "It's like he's pretending to be happy," another said. Can, of course, didn't read any of it that night. But deep down, he felt the weight of what everyone saw. It wasn't about denying happiness, it was about the ghost that never left. Demet Özdemir wasn't in Milan, but her absence was louder than any presence could have been. The two had once shared smiles, glances, and moments that lit up screens worldwide. Now, their silence told a story far more powerful. Meanwhile, backstage conversations grew bold. One Italian TV host whispered to another, "They say Demet left because she didn't want to see him. Or maybe she left because seeing him again would have been too painful." By now, Can's girlfriend had sensed the tension. She leaned in, whispering something only he could hear. He nodded, grateful, but his gaze soon drifted to the skyline again, the same skyline he once admired from hotel balconies after long filming days, when Demet was by his side, both of them laughing at how fame had turned their lives upside down. The night began to wind down. Guests took final selfies, exchanged hugs, and the music faded into soft, nostalgic notes. But before leaving, one journalist caught Can's attention and asked the question that no one had dared to say out loud, "Can, do you think some stories never really end?" He paused for a moment, a pause that seemed to stretch forever. Then, with a faint smile, he replied, "Some don't need an ending. They just live differently." Those words would echo across headlines the next morning. Some called them poetic. Others called them a confession. But for anyone who knew what came before, the laughter, the distance, the heartbreak, they sounded like the truth Yaman could no longer hide. By the time dawn painted the sky over Milan in shades of pale gold, the city was already buzzing with the news. Every entertainment outlet, gossip site, and fan account was running the same headline: Yaman steals the show at exclusive Milan party, but his eyes tell another story. The photos had gone viral overnight. The one where his girlfriend held his hand while he gazed into the distance. The one by the balcony, where the city lights reflected in his eyes like memories he couldn't erase. And the one that truly broke fans' hearts, a close-up of Can smiling for the cameras with the faintest trace of melancholy behind it. Milan had celebrated him. The world had watched. But those who had followed his journey from the beginning, from the electric chemistry on set with Demet Özdemir to the painful silence that followed, saw something far deeper. They knew that even in a crowded room filled with luxury, laughter, and flashbulbs, the most beautiful memories can hurt the most. As the morning unfolded, paparazzi stationed outside his hotel caught a glimpse of him leaving early, wearing sunglasses and a leather jacket, walking alone. His girlfriend wasn't by his side. Reporters tried to approach, but he kept his head down, politely greeting fans before slipping into a black car. That small, quiet departure said more than any interview ever could. Across social media, a different kind of post began trending. Fans started sharing old clips, scenes from Erkenci Kuss, behind-the-scenes videos, interviews where Can and Demet's laughter filled the screen. One fan wrote, "He can change cities, he can meet new people, but some stories stay inside forever." Another commented, "Demet's gone, but Milan proved that her shadow still follows him." Back in Rome, Demet Özdemir reportedly saw the headlines too. Sources close to her said she smiled quietly, without comment. She'd learned long ago that silence could speak louder than any word. But those who truly knew her claimed that her silence that morning carried both peace and nostalgia. As for Can, that day he disappeared from the public eye again. No posts, no statements. Only a single Instagram story appeared 24 hours later, a photo of the Milan sunrise from his balcony with a caption that read simply, "Some lights never fade." It was short, poetic, and enough to send his fans spiraling into emotion. Was it about Milan? About the party? Or about the woman who wasn't there anymore? No one knew for sure. But one thing was undeniable: the world had just witnessed another unforgettable chapter in the story of Yaman and Demet Özdemir. And once again, it proved that even when love ends, the echoes of it can still light up an entire city. Days turned into weeks, but the night in Milan didn't fade from the headlines. The images of Yaman and his girlfriend continued circulating across every platform: glossy magazines, entertainment news, fan pages, and even morning talk shows. But beyond the glamour, one detail stood out to everyone who looked closely: he didn't look free. Every smile seemed slightly forced, every confident pose shadowed by something unspoken. And as fans debated endlessly online, one thing became clear: the Milan party wasn't just a celebration, it was a mirror. It showed a man who had moved forward in life, but perhaps never truly moved on in heart. Inside Italy's entertainment circles, whispers grew louder. A source close to Can claimed that he had been quieter than usual since the event. That after the party, he cancelled a few meetings, skipped a fashion appearance, and spent several days at his home near Lake Como, alone. The source said, he told everyone he needed rest. But people who know him know that when Can says that, it usually means something deeper is bothering him. Meanwhile, fans noticed that Demet Özdemir had liked an old fan edit on social media, a nostalgic video showing moments from their series, with a caption that read, "Some stories live forever." Within minutes, the internet exploded. Was it intentional? Coincidence? Or a quiet message sent across distance and time? In truth, neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. The silence between them had always been louder than words. That weekend, Can attended a private charity gala in Rome. Dressed impeccably in a black tuxedo, he looked radiant again. Composed, professional, but more distant than ever. When a reporter gently asked him about Demet, his answer was calm, but full of weight: life has its own rhythm. Some people are part of that rhythm forever, even if they're no longer by your side. Those words, simple yet haunting, spread like wildfire. They reminded everyone why Can's fans adored him, not just for his looks, but for his depth, his ability to turn emotion into poetry, pain into strength. Later that night, backstage at the gala, he was seen sitting alone for a few minutes. One of the event organizers described the moment later: he was staring at his phone, scrolling through photos. I don't know what he saw, but he smiled softly and whispered something like, "It was real." Then he put the phone away and went back out to face the crowd. It was that quiet honesty, that human fragility, that made him unforgettable. Back in Istanbul, fans began leaving notes and letters at a small cafe once known to be Demet's favorite. They wrote messages like, "For the love that changed us all," and "We still believe in what you two had." It wasn't just nostalgia anymore. It was collective emotion, millions of people around the world carrying a story that had somehow become their own. Demet, on her end, was busy with new projects. Interviews, events, flights, yet somehow, she too seemed a little distant in recent photos. As if part of her heart was still watching the same sunrise that Can had posted from Milan. The caption he wrote, "Some lights never fade," had clearly reached her. In a magazine interview weeks later, when asked about that post, she paused for a moment before answering softly, "Some lights belong to moments we never forget." I think that's beautiful. The journalist tried to ask more, but she smiled and ended it there. Months later, both moved forward professionally: new projects, new endorsements, new rumors. But fans noticed something unusual. Neither of them ever deleted their old posts from the time they worked together. Those moments remained, untouched, preserved, like small digital ghosts of what once was. And maybe that was the truth all along. Some loves aren't meant to be erased. They're meant to evolve, from romance into memory, from memory into legacy. The Milan party had been dazzling, but beneath its golden lights lay the echo of something much greater, a love that refused to die quietly. Yaman had walked into that night with the world watching, and though he left with applause, the real story wasn't about fame nor fashion. It was about the silent acknowledgement between two souls who once shared everything, and who, despite the distance, still carried a small piece of each other wherever they went. And maybe, just maybe, that's why every time Yaman smiles for the cameras, the world still sees a glimmer of Demet Özdemir in his eyes, not as a shadow, but as a light that never truly went out.